Hey there, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Lorraine, and in this video I'm going to be going over Gemini Sun with Capricorn Moon. I'm going to start off the video by talking about what a typical Gemini Sun is like, and then I'm going to get into the moon placement and talk about it as a combination. So if there's certain aspects of the Gemini Sun description that don't quite resonate or make a lot of sense, then hold on until you hear the moon placement and it'll probably tie together quite nicely and make a lot of sense. Little disclaimer before I get started that, even when you do hear your moon placement, there may be some aspects that don't quite make sense. Maybe it's a little different because I can't see the rest of your chart. So keep in mind this is only 2 placements of your entire chart. And so when I am talking about these descriptions and this combination, I mean like in general, most of the time, tendencies. This is what the person with this pairing would act like, barring any other placements that would counteract these expressions. And that is a good segue to tell you that if I now have paid birth chart readings available, so if you would like me to look at the rest of your chart and get a more complete and in-depth examination of your chart, I have paid readings available on my website, and so I will leave a link in the description. I have 5 different packages available as of the time I'm recording this with 5 different prices. So link in the description if you would like to check that out. I will also probably be glancing over here from time to time because I have my very thorough notes and I don't want to miss anything. When I'm talking to the camera, honestly, my mind goes blank. So I have very carefully crafted notes that I put together myself. So just so you know, let's get started with Gemini Sun. So basically, I'm going to list a few descriptive words of Gemini, and then I'm going to get into giving you a more complete picture of how this plays out in real life. I'm all about explaining things practically, giving you a complete picture of this, of like a real person with this pairing. And so Gemini Suns are very energetic, social, adaptable, conversational. They're great communicators. They're persuasive, curious, restless, easily bored, high-strung. They tend to quite enjoy gossip, and they are a bit disorganized. So Geminis are often social butterflies, and again, this can depend on whether this person is introverted or extroverted. I know a lot of people assume that all Geminis are extroverted because they tend to be that way, but some are introverted. Even if they are introverted, they're usually very good at socializing and communicating. It's just whether or not that exhausts them or not, and they need alone time. But for the most part, they just really enjoy having conversations with all types of people, and they're good at it. They make really good first impressions because they're really able to tailor their conversations and how they present themselves to who they're around. They're really good at reading a room. Now, Geminis have a lot of energy. They are very easily restless and they're very easily bored, and so they need a lot of stimulation. Now, because of this, they not only enjoy change, but they actually need it. They need that variety, that fresh experiences and that change in their life in order to keep them entertained. Because they're always on the go, looking for new topics, places to explore, things to learn, people to talk to, their knowledge of subjects and their connections to people tend to be a little more surface level and not super deep. And that's because they just don't, because they're always on the move to new, they don't have enough really time to be able to go deeper into a subject or go deeper with connecting with someone. And it's because they get bored so easily. And so they tend to know a little about a lot and never really master anything, kind of a jack of all trades. So if a Gemini does actually know a lot about one's particular subject, or like maybe even mastering it, going to school for it, pursuing it as a career, that sort of thing, or if they have a really deep connection with someone, they're married to them, very committed to them, that's something that they're learning, or that someone that they're with has managed to keep them interested for a very long time to the point that they're willing to commit to it. That's a really actually impressive feat because they're so easily bored. So if it's a subject that they're learning, maybe they're going to school for it, then it's something that doesn't have a ceiling. It's something that just keeps them interested to where they're always learning new information in it. There's new levels to it. It doesn't have a ceiling. And anytime they learn a new piece of information, it's just as exciting as when they first learned about the topic. It's going to be something like that. There can't be a ceiling to it. I feel like as soon as Gemini feels like they've mastered something and there's nothing more like new to learn, like there's no point. It's so boring for them. Most Geminis would have abandoned it far before they got to that point. And so if they are mastering a subject, it must be very interesting to them and have new levels to it. And if they're really committed to someone and have that like either deep friendship or deep relationship with someone, then that's a person who is really able to adapt and keep up with Gemini. They're definitely not boring. It's someone who's always growing with them, who's always down for their adventures or their fresh experiences and willing to do hobbies with them, or at the very least hear about them and be just as excited to hear about them as they were the first time Gemini told them about something cool they did. They actually love to listen to people who are experts, masters, or just know a lot about one subject. And that can actually be really attractive and interesting to them because they're not generally like that. And because then if you know a lot about something or you're an expert or a master, chances are that is information that Gemini does not know. And so it's very fascinating to them because they probably don't know it because they haven't been able to devote enough time to get to that level. And so it's really fascinating and probably attractive to them to be able to learn that from someone, and because then you're connecting on that intellectual level, which Gemini really likes. Now with Gemini, they are very energetic, but sometimes this isn't always physical energy. I think pretty much every Gemini has that mental energy. They're very mentally energetic, and then some can be physically energetic, and that usually kind of depends on if they're more extroverted or introverted. If they're more introverted, it's mostly just that mental energy. And if they're more extroverted, it's usually kind of a combination of both, but they'll probably express that energy more physically in order to try and process everything that's going on there in their head. So Gemini believes in many truths, and like an infinite number of truths, as opposed to Gemini's opposite sign in Sagittarius, which is in the search of or believes in one absolute truth. For Gemini, something can be true for one person while the opposite can be true for another person, and Gemini views both as being equally valid and equally true. And Gemini also gets very caught up in the moment. When they're having a conversation with someone, that's the most important conversation at that time. And so when they're talking with someone, they could be talking with person A and agreeing with them that what they believe is true, and then they could have a conversation with person B, and now that conversation is the most important, and they could agree with person B who believes the exact opposite of person A, and then people can kind of wonder about this inconsistently, like you agreed with both of us, and it's because one, they got caught up in the moment, and that's the most important thing in that moment. But also, again, Gemini believes in multiple truths, and so they believe that person A is true because they believe it's true for them, and person B as well. So when people wonder, like, oh, which one do you believe? Like for Gemini, it's both. It's all of them. No two beliefs are mutually exclusive in their mind because it's true for someone. And that's kind of how I imagine Gemini. Like, you know, when someone starts drinking really early in the day, and they usually get called out for it, and then they're like, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Gemini is like getting called out for talking about an opinion or belief that contradicts something they said earlier, and they're like, it's true for someone, or I got caught up in the moment. And that's pretty much a good summary of Gemini. And now another caveat to this is that Gemini, I think, is notorious for saying things and making plans and then just as easily going back on them. And again, it's from getting caught up in the moment. In the moment, it was the most important thing, and they're like, yes, let's do it, and they agree to it, but then the moment passed and they're probably caught up in a new moment that is now the most important thing, or they could have just completely forgot about the first thing that they agreed to. So like a good way to summarize that would be flaky, I guess. Yeah, which as an Aries I find extremely frustrating. And now, like I said about Gemini saying one thing and then agreeing to the complete opposite, it's also really hard for Gemini to like keep track of everything that they say and everything that they agree to, because for them it's as fast as like their thoughts. It would be like trying to keep track of every thought that you had in a week. And you're probably going to have some pretty contradictory thoughts throughout the week. It's basically, how do you feel about your life and your job when you're stuck in traffic on the way to work Monday morning to a job that you don't enjoy, versus how do you feel about your life Friday when you're about to go party for the weekend or go on a week trip. So those will probably be some conflicting thoughts and feelings, but for us that's considered normal. For Gemini, like that's how it is when they're expressing information and points of view and opinions and beliefs. It's as fleeting as that, and it can be quite contradictory. And to them that's normal, because Gemini is actually quite good. It's the sign of the twins. It's a dual sign. It's like they have an alter ego. It's like they have two sides to them. I mean, ask any Gemini you know, or if you're a Gemini, then you know what I'm talking about. But if you don't know, like if you ask a Gemini, do you feel like two different people? Every single one of them will be like, yes, all the time. Like it's like they have an alter ego, or they just have just two different sides to them, and both are just as genuine, and it depends which side you're getting, which one wants to express itself today, you know. Now, like I mentioned, Gemini loves talking, communication, conversations. And if they're a little more introverted, I find this is usually directed a little more into, say, like writing, texting, social media. If they're more extroverted, then that's having conversations and talking with people. And usually it's the more extroverted ones I find that tend to really enjoy the gossip. But I think pretty much every Gemini enjoys gossip. And I feel like when they say they don't, they're lying. That's a different side of them that was out that day. The other side of them loves gossip. So, and now Geminis are like really good at gossip too. They know everything. Like if at work, they know everything that's going on. If you want to know all of the hot gossip, if you want to know like the rumors, everything that's going on, ask a Gemini. Like my mom's a Gemini and she knows everything that happens at work. She knows absolutely everything. If you want to know what's going on, you talk to her. If she doesn't know, she will find out. It's like she's got eyes and ears and spies everywhere. She is the first to know about everything. And part of why is because she, again, is that Gemini able to get along with everyone genuinely. So everyone likes her. And so they tell her everything. So then she knows everything. All right. So now I wanted to add some of the unevolved characteristics of Gemini. And I wanted to make sure that I gave them a fair shake first, because I feel like they get a lot of hate, especially online. I take these Sun Moon combination videos very seriously. I put a lot of work and effort into them because I'm making them for someone who either has this pairing or loves someone who does. And so I want them to be beneficial. You know, the last thing I want is for someone to come watch these videos and feel like shit about their sign, because I know how that feels and it's just completely unhelpful. So I want to make sure that when I make these videos, I'm doing every sign and every pairing justice, and that I'm showing that every sign and every pairing has the potential to be a great person when they're healthy, and to really show what all of the signs and pairings have to offer. And so I'll be honest, that's kind of why I fell behind in the Sun Moon combinations, because I got to Gemini and it was just one of the most challenging signs to fully figure out. And it's not like I didn't know about them before, and it's not even like I particularly dislike Gemini. It's just that, like, you know, we're all approaching astrology from our own biases, and I'm an Aries, you know, that is sextile Gemini, so that, like, I kind of get them a little bit, but the rest of my chart, I have 3 planets in Sagittarius, which is opposite Gemini, and then I have 2 planets and my midheaven in Pisces, which is square Gemini, and so I have a lot of opposite, like, difficult aspects to Gemini, so it was just difficult for me to fully get them, like fully understand them on a deep level and really appreciate them and what they have to offer. And I didn't want to make these videos until I got to that point, and I don't make any of my videos until I'm at that point, because the last thing I want is to just pile on the shitty stereotypes, because every sign gets that enough already, including I think especially Gemini. But on the other hand, I'm very aware that every sign has their challenges, their unevolved characteristics, and so I don't want to completely gloss over those, and so I'm going to get into some of the unevolved characteristics of Gemini now. So unevolved Geminis can be cunning, superficial, manipulative, and they can be very, like, when, again, unevolved, not all Geminis, but they are very good at lying and bending the truth. And they can also be unfaithful to their partners. And unfortunately, some stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. And unevolved Geminis can be two-faced in the worst way, you know, where they're talking, like, they're really nice, polite to your face, and then they're talking shit about you and spreading rumors behind your back. Or they do something really shitty and then they pretend it never happened and they act like everything's normal. And then if you ever try to confront them about it, they're the kind of people that will either avoid it, deny it, or lie some more. And again, this is unevolved Geminis. It's essentially the worst expression of the sign. That said, though, most Geminis are big avoiders, especially when it comes to conflict. So even if they are a generally healthy Gemini, if you try confronting conflict head on, it's probably not going to go very productively, or at least it's just going to make them very uncomfortable. Why is your butt wet? Say hello. You're so pretty. So now I get to Capricorn Moon. So Capricorn Moons are very intelligent, hardworking, ambitious, and they enjoy learning. It's a very charming placement. Sometimes they're quite humorous, and I think with a Gemini they will be, but this Gemini will probably have like a dry humor, like sarcasm, and just their delivery may be quite deadpan because you have that Capricorn moon. Capricorn moons tend to be motivated by money and status, not always in excess. Sometimes it can be, but for the most part, Capricorn, they don't want to struggle financially. They don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. They don't want to be making like bare minimum just to get by. They want to be set financially, plan for retirement, so they save for retirement, look in investments so they have that nest egg. They want to have more than enough to live comfortably, essentially, and so they're very motivated to work to achieve that. They kind of have a chip on their shoulder and feel responsible for things getting done, even if it wasn't someone else. Like if it was someone else was supposed to do it, they feel a responsibility for things getting done. So especially at work, they're taking on that extra responsibility without anyone having to ask, and that's a lot of the time why they end up doing well in the workplace and moving up, is because they're taking on that extra responsibility. They're picking up the slack of coworkers, even if they're not in any kind of supervisor or managerial role. They feel responsible for shit getting done, and they will do it. Sometimes they'll even redo stuff if it wasn't up to snuff. And yeah, they take on more than they necessarily need to. Capricorn moons are also very opinionated, but quite narrow-minded, which is actually quite different from Gemini. Capricorn moons are quite stuck in their ways. They've thought about every possible thing in their mind. They've thought about every possible alternative in every possible way, and so really no one can change their mind. And so it will be interesting seeing this mix. I think you'll have someone who may potentially be better at changing other people's minds because they're pretty stubborn about how they feel about things. But then you have that Gemini, which is a people person and naturally persuasive, and so there's someone who could do really well at work because they have that Capricorn moon work ethic and that sense of responsibility. They do, like, even though they're a Gemini, that Capricorn moon is not going to be able to shirk all responsibilities. They're going to take work quite seriously, especially if they're in a position or a job where people depend on them getting shit done. They're gonna be pretty responsible, but then on the other hand, you have Gemini that's really good with people, really good with that chit chat, talking by the water cooler. So they'd be really great at networking. And so this combination would be really great for just getting ahead in work and that kinds of things. Maybe even if they wanted to start their own business, because they'd be really great balance of like that networking, but then also that work ethic. And on top of that, Gemini would be great at coming up with ideas, and then you've got Capricorn actually having the sense and the practicality to put that into practice, and also thinking about all the variables. Capricorn is a little pessimistic, but having the Gemini, I think it might be a good blend of realism, because then you've got the Gemini thinking of all these great ideas, and then you've got Capricorn kind of reining it in a little bit to be able to actually put it like in practical, like actually make it happen practically. So this Gemini is going to be a lot more reserved and narrow-minded than typical Gemini. They, like I was kind of already touched on, the drive, ambition, and stability, and they're far more responsible than a typical Gemini. It may feel a little polarizing sometimes. To be honest, I'm always surprised that these two signs don't have some kind of difficult aspect, because they're very different. But because you have Gemini that just doesn't want to commit to anything. They want new experiences, and Capricorn is very different. Like, they've got responsibility and this duty to do what they've committed to doing, and even if they don't like it. Gemini, on the other hand, if they're bored, they want to go. And so it could be, trying to figure out how to balance those two. But if they work at it, the way I see it playing out is they take work pretty seriously, and they do what they have to do. And then they're also very social at work. They're among their coworkers. They're involved with workplace gossip, the chit chat. They get along with pretty much everyone. And if there's someone who doesn't like them or get along with them, then that's probably a rarity, or that's like the coworker that no one gets along with. For the most part, I see them being able to work with anyone, but they're probably bitching about the lazy coworkers whose slack they had to pick up. This combination actually would be notorious for taking on responsibility that wasn't asked of them and is not necessarily their like they don't get paid enough to do that, but they're going to do it anyway, or their coworkers slacking off, and they're the kind of person that would take on that extra responsibility, get it done, and then bitch about like no one asked them to do it, and then they're going to go bitch about it to their other coworkers about how, oh, that person's so lazy, I had to do this and I had to do that. Another interesting thing is this person is going to be, I think, more reserved than a typical Gemini, and they're also going to be a little more difficult to get to know. Like they probably have a bit of a shell that you don't really realize they have, because like it's going to be difficult to get to know them on a deep level, because Capricorn's pretty reserved, and then you've got that Gemini that is actually very comfortable keeping things surface level. And like we've seen with Gemini with a whole bunch of other moon combinations, I feel like it's going to be a similar thing where they're good at seeming open. They're good at seeming like they don't have anything to hide. They're just a very open, happy, jovial person you can talk to about anything. That's the thing. You can talk to them about, it seems like, anything, yet then when you really think about it, you're like, I don't actually know them that well. Like I know things about them, but I don't really know them on like this deep level. And so because I think with the Capricorn moon, they're going to be quite reserved and guarded. And again, because you've got that Gemini that's very comfortable keeping things surface level without it seeming like they're hiding anything. But this is a Gemini that is going to be far more committed in relationships, depending on the Venus sign. But in general, having the Capricorn moon makes them a lot more committed in really everything that they do. And that includes relationships, work. When they make plans and appointments, far more likely to keep them. But then I do want to mention, this does kind of depend on whether the sun or moon is more dominant in this person's chart, and if they have like what their Mercury sign is. So if they have Mercury, Venus, or any other so if they have Mercury in Gemini or any other Gemini placements, then they're probably going to lean a little more to that chaotic Gemini that kind of forgets things and doesn't really keep plans. But if they're born during the day, that's also true. They'll probably relate more to their sun sign. However, if you look in the rest of their chart, if they have more Earth placements, or if they're born at night, then they would relate more to the Capricorn moon and are far more likely to be like fulfill their responsibilities and keep commitments. That said, though, this person still does really enjoy variety and spontaneity, and so the way I see it happening is they do have like responsibilities and commitments, and they do see those throughs, and so they make sure that those are done first, and then really probably the rest of their day is like, it's not planned, it's spontaneous. It's like, what do I feel like doing today? Oh, let's go for an unplanned lunch with my friends, let's go for a walk, like on a shopping spree or something, whatever it might be. But they're not going to be overspending, because you got that Capricorn moon coming in clutch. And so they'll really enjoy like spontaneous things. Basically, I feel like their free time is not going to be planned, really. That's going to be spontaneous. It's full of new things, spur of the moment, figuring out whatever they feel like doing in that moment. And then on the other hand, while they enjoy people and socializing, they probably also really enjoy their alone time, and that is probably doing something though. So it's probably spending time enjoying their own hobbies, taking themselves on a date to lunch, and just doing things by themselves. So I could see that. That's all I have planned for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already considered liking this video and subscribing, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who has helped support this channel so far and brought it to where it is. I'm monetized with over 2,000 subscribers now, so thank you very much.